All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. This is the Middle School Assessment Coordinator's update and with questions and answers regarding several different assessments and where we've been. So I'm going to start just by moving to the slide deck and sharing that with you. Get in here and actually get going. So, okay. Today, things that we're going to talk about is, once again, I'm just going to stop in a moment and again show you, those of you who may or may not have had the opportunity to take a look at some of the resources that are online at the website, but also a reminder of office hours every Monday. Would like a little bit of feedback. We're not going to spend hours, but just a little bit of feedback on fall screeners, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll move into the climate survey, which is coming up, which is this week, actually. And then into Apple and Access. So we're going to spend the majority of our time talking about Access, actually, because there's the most information about that. So let me know if you have questions as we roll. So the resources that we have available for you are on our district website. mmsd.org/assessment is the quickest way for you to get there. And I'm going to just click on that and take us there real briefly. That will get you to the assessment web pages. And on these web pages, you'll find elementary and middle schools, high schools over on the left, calendars, and more information on the right. So if you want information for middle school staff, you can click on that. That will take you over to the kind of a summary page for middle school assessments. You can look at the assessments by grade level. But if you scroll down, you're going to see more resources. First of all, assessments by name. So all of them will be listed, but then also the resources, the assessment coordinator's resource page. If you click on that, will take you to a page that will have things like our running agenda. Also, this is where you can find the slide deck for today. So it's under October 2022. And then this is also where you'll find the recorded meetings. So I'm going to record today's meeting, post it. I'll break out, for instance, when we're going to be talking about Apple and also for Access. So again, if you want to go back and just focus on those, you'll be able to see where in the video recording that particular portion is. So you don't have to run through everything. Okay, so let's continue on with some feedback. So talking about screeners, it's been an interesting fall. I know that there have been some of you who've communicated with me quite a bit, Sarah and I. Others of you who have not had any or very little communication, but we have been trying to improve what kind of support we provide, and we know that there were issues with iReady and Achieve in several different ways, especially rostering and getting ClassLink. ClassLink had some pretty awful technical issues. And we, meaning Sarah and I, are just now really starting to learn the systems of iReady and Achieve. We want to make sure that we provide support for you. So I am going to kind of open this up a little bit for if you've got any, some short things that share with everyone. That would be great. If you have long, scathing feedback, I welcome that, but please make sure that you email me rather than share it with everyone. So opening it up to any feedback, we're welcome to it. So thoughts about how the fall screeners went, things that we can improve. Okay, so that silence either tells me that it was perfect, which I know it wasn't, or I'm going to get a lot of scathing feedback emails. So perfect, thank you. All right, let's go back to the slides, and please know that we are seriously interested in improving what we do to help you to streamline the process and provide as best support as we possibly can. So I am serious about it when I say I'm looking for feedback. Okay, coming up, let's talk a little bit about the climate survey. The climate survey has been produced by the research and innovation team. And so they are taking the lead on it. Sarah, Adrian, and I are in support of that. So kind of a summary piece. First of all, the survey will be delivered via email to students and ultimately to staff when it's the staff survey turn. And what the ask is that all students have time to respond. Want to make a space, whether it's in a, for lack of, thinking back to my high school experience, homerooms. So if you have time that, on a daily basis that you meet with the students, that might be time for the survey. It takes about 20 minutes, roughly, maybe 30 minutes tops. But we really are looking for every student to have a reasonable chance to respond and get their voices heard. The associate superintendents have not set out any numeric goals, so they're not saying 98% have to respond. But I can tell you that they're looking for a response rate that reflects the majority of students. So again, the goal is that all students will complete the survey, but we know that that will not happen. Here's my advice. If you set aside time for students, and let's say on next Wednesday morning, you set aside time for students, and you've got, you give them time to take the survey, and you have X number of students who are absent. Follow up with each one of those students saying, hey, you missed the chance to take the survey. Can you please take it? I would say if you connect with them once beyond the initial survey completion time, once is enough. I don't want you to spend your energy tracking down every single student, but we do want to make sure that they all have an opportunity to seriously take and respond to the survey. There's specific information in last week's administrator bulletin, and the principals will have access to that. I can get that for you and post it on that assessment coordinator's resource page, and we'll do that after our meeting. So next, we're going to move on to the APPLE, which is the language proficiency assessment for those who are in students who are in DLI. So this is in Spanish, and I know this does not pertain to all schools, only those that are at DLI schools, but keep in mind that again, we're trying to ensure that we are appropriately assessing all students. So not only do we, which we'll be talking about the access assessment, but also we're going to be talking about assessing students who are speaking, learning to speak or improving their speaking of another language. The survey itself, my understanding is that it, since it's on the Qualtrics platform, that there is likely to be 2 languages, but I'll get that information for you. Sarah's got it already.
Yeah, I can verify that it says in the, so I put a PowerPoint that was provided by our research and innovation department in the agenda notes, and it includes some information about other languages and some administration tips. And one of them is that there will be a language selection on the screen within the survey to choose Spanish, English, or Hmong.
Thank you. And that's just typically a drop down in the one of the first login screens. So you'll be able to choose that. It's also my understanding that Qualtrics works on each page each time you move forward, you can choose the language. So if you're comfortable in Spanish or you want to try it in Spanish, you can, but then you can also move back to English. And it just allows you to finish that assessment that way. Hopefully that answered your questions. And again, while we are going to be kind of a contact point for the climate survey, it might take us a little bit of time to get back to you with results or responses, simply because we're reaching out to the research team. Okay, so getting back to the APPLE, the language proficiency assessment. Now, the change that we are looking at is that it is going to be for 8th grade only this year. One of the things that we continue to try and do is to provide that balance between the assessment and the data that we get from it and what happens for students in classrooms. And so this year, because we've got also several other factors playing into it, there is going to only be the 8th grade APPLE assessment for dual language immersion classes only. There is a summary of the thought process behind it in this, this document. And we continue to look at what are the assessments that are appropriate for every grade level. So 6th and 7th grade, even though they're still in DLI and they're learning, there are other measures. One of the key features with the APPLE is that it does compare where you are against your peers across the country. So it lets you know, are you in fact are you farther along than you thought you were? Where are you at with speaking and listening and reading and responding to prompts, etc. So the 8th grade will be testing all 4 domains. This is ticket driven. It is not on ClassLink. So you will be getting tickets from us in the next couple days before the end of the week. And it will have a link that students will have to go to that will then allow them to take the assessment. They will need to have headsets. That would be headsets with the microphone so that they can take the speaking portion. For any other portion, they're welcome to use their own earbuds if they want, as long as they are listening to the computer rather than logging into something else. We are working very hard to ensure that all staff who are involved in have classes rostered to them also have access to the student information online. They should be able to get most of the data back within 24 to 48 hours, although the writing portion does take longer, so within 3 weeks. So we'll be putting out a short video on how to get to that information once you've logged in and where you can find that. And finally, the window itself is a 3-week-long window. It's from October 31st through the 18th of November. We have worked with student services to apply the accommodations that have been placed in students' IEPs with that they had for APPLE in prior years. So all students, families, and staff will get a performance information, and we'll be sharing with how to get that information. At this point, we are not mailing results home to families. That's something that can be shared with families, whether it's because of the timing when this comes back, probably with the end of Q2 report cards. So all kinds of data will be available, and we'll continue to work with you to make sure that you have that available to you. Let me take a moment here and stop and see if there are any questions about the APPLE. Okay. Moving ahead. Now, here's even though it's a little bit further out on the horizon, this is also a much larger undertaking at each and every one of our schools. So just some review, because we've got so many new people across the district, access assessment is it has several purposes. First of all, it does look at English language acquisition proficiency. So moving students from being having no English proficiency to being fluent in English. And it also fulfills state and federal requirements that we have on several different levels. So it's an important assessment. So one of the things that happens is that the data is going to be pulled from student information. Rosters will be pulled this week yet. Sorry, I'm just going to check and see. Thank you, Peg. Absolutely correct. The access assessment is one that students cannot be opted out of. This is the only one that they cannot be opted out of per the school board and per state statute. They can't opt out of this. That being said, if a student refuses to take the assessment, or the family just says, well, no, my child will not take this assessment, that does happen. So don't be fighting against the families to say, no, you have to take it. Again, if they refuse to take it, that is something that we account for. Okay, couple things. First of all, you're going to be getting information from us. We're going to be pulling this information on Friday. Student accommodations, where rosters are going to be emailed to you by the end of the month. So on that roster, it will say things like who is in your building is expected to take this test. So if you are, it doesn't matter if they have said yes to being provided supports and they have a plan in place, or if they declined those supports. If they are an identified English learner, they will be expected to take the test. Now that is if they have a score, and Ben, I know that you're here, if they have a score that is at a 5 or less, is that correct? Or is it just less than a 5? Or any one of
less than a 5.
Less than 5, thank you. So if they have an English language level of anywhere from a 1 to a 4.9 on their composite, they will be expected to test. All right, you will be able to also see who gets accommodations. Hang on just a second. So you'll see a list of who gets accommodations. If there are changes to that, please make sure that you are taking a look at those and providing us with any changes so that we get that before we make it to the printing the tickets and getting it to you. Now, information on all students is going to be pulled from DPI. They're going to be pulling actually from IC, and we will be setting up the AMS software for all the coordinators yet this week. So you will have access to that. Most of you, if you're involved with doing the WIDA screener, already have access to this. So professional development. By the end of this month, we will be sending out to you, to all the access coordinators and everyone who's assessed in the past, as well as to BRTs, the professional development plan. You will need to go into wida.wisc.edu and go through that process. Please keep in mind that it is important that we make sure that we're doing this consistently, and you know how to give the access test. All right, here is a change, and I know that this is not going to come as necessarily as welcome news, but please be aware. Those students who take the alternate access, so those who have in their IEPs that's what they're going to take, will take the alternate access during the regular window, which is December 1st through the end of January. However, the state is looking at updating and improving the alternate access test in itself. And so they are expecting us to also take the alternate access field test. This will take we're going to set the window for about a month, even though it goes longer. So middle of February to the middle of March is when we as a district are going to be giving that. And even though the window goes through April, that's because there's this overlap with the forward test. So it's typically a smaller group of students, but it's still important that we do this well and are focusing on ensuring that we get the best possible results from this. So specific dates for access testing. Glad you asked. Let's go. And you can see here.
This year's access window is going to be December 1st through January 27th.
Yes, thanks. And I do have that posted up here right now. So here's the process. We're going to get paper material and any other material into the district on the 28th of November. That day, we're going to be working at getting it sorted and inventoried and to you. The test window opens on the 1st of December. The material that we're talking about are test booklets that are for physically writing. So if you have, for instance, I know younger students like, and we don't typically have many in the middle school, but if you've got somebody who is, for instance, new to the country and simply has not used a keyboard, we can potentially take a look at that, getting writing booklets. Writing booklets or any additional material that you need takes about a 3-day turnaround. So the window opens on December 1st. Keep in mind that it's actually about 3 weeks between when the window opens and when we are on our break. So our break begins on Wednesday, the 21st of December. You have a good solid 2 weeks to get in the assessment prior to winter break. And we found that schools that are focused on getting a good chunk of their students assessed in that first 2 weeks are way less stressed when it comes close to the window being closed after the break.
Hey, Tim.
Yes.
So can we expect to have the materials ready for us to start testing on December 1st?
So Sarah, jump in here.
Yeah, I'd love to jump in here. So are you talking, Jody, are you talking about the alternate access materials?
No, I'm talking about regular. Just
so the only regular
jump in.
materials that you'll need are the paper testing tickets. Those you will have before Thanksgiving. The testing materials here with I guess with the administration manuals, as soon as they arrive to us, which we will not get until November 28th, I'll be working hard to turn those right around to get to your buildings. So it is my sincere hope that you would have them by the 30th. But we know what happens with shipping, especially around the holidays. So just know that any delays are just delays that we can't control. So it's our intention to get everything to you before the 1st. Yes.
So we'll get the testing tickets so we could theoretically begin testing.
Yes, those will be to you in mid-November. Those are not related to these materials. Those will be printed by our office. So my goal for those is to be like the week of Thanksgiving break would be the latest you'd get those.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes. So thanks. Yes, the printed administration manuals are also included in some of these materials that arrive in late November. So again, one of the things that's really critical is if you get a jump on it, it makes your life so much easier after the winter break. So winter break begins Wednesday, the 21st. We return to school on January 4th. Please note that MLK Day is on January 16th and we have that day off. End of semester is the 20th and then the window closes. So there's a lot of things going on in January. So if you can front load as many students as possible in that beginning of December through the winter break period. It's really helpful. Yes, thanks, Anna. But snow days can be anywhere in there, but typically more in January, and The state will not say, oh, it snowed in Madison, therefore we're going to give you extra days. The window that closes on the 27th is hard and fast. If students do not finish, then we have to explain to the DPI why they didn't complete their test, because it actually counts as they will not get a composite score. And that is critical for moving them to exiting and to monitoring them for the following 2 years after this. So as they continue to get older and their English proficiency is stronger, especially in middle schools, we see a lot of students who are able to exit, and if they don't finish the test, that's not a possibility. Okay. Let's see. So you'll get, if you don't already have an account, you'll be getting that in the next few days. And the PD that we talked about earlier, please start working on that and scheduling that from between now and December 31st. It takes approximately an hour to go through that. Sarah has gone through it already and passed with flying colors. I have yet to take it, but I'm going to be doing that soon. So we are going to be sending out information by the end of this month regarding professional development for Access. Okay, we'll come back around for any questions in just a few minutes as you're thinking about this. Please know, okay, on the horizon, again, as we spoke about, we've got Access. That's the big thing, even though there are going to be schools who are going to be doing Apple. We've got the climate survey, but the alternate access and the alternate access field test are really critical pieces as we look down the road. And finally, office hours, every Monday from 2 to 3. There's a Zoom link. We can certainly, I believe that's also in the running agenda. You can get that. And again, if you have questions for us, here's our email, Nicole Schaefer with data use, and we'll be able to help you out. So that's a quick run through. And yes, Sarah.
Sorry, Tim, can I add one thing that I didn't think to ask you to add earlier?
Okay.
Do you want to just very quickly tell people about the optional window for the winter for iReady and Achieve 3000? And the process is coming up. I don't know if you.
Yes, I was just going to say, I would love to tell you about that. Optional means optional. And we're going to be sharing with you a document very shortly regarding why you might want to consider this, but not that you don't have to. We are looking at, it's not a classroom by classroom option. It is a school option. So if you're going to do iReady, or if you're going to do Achieve 3000, you all need to do it at a building, at a school. It's not just simply this classroom and this classroom. So yes, the middle schools that have a DLI program are going to be doing Apple for 8th grade, but 8th grade only. So Sarah, did I cover that? I know that there's going to be a document that's like, here's the rationale. Here are the things that you want to think about when looking at that optional assessment. Again,
Yeah, I think you covered exactly what we needed to today, Tim. I think we'll have more information by the November meeting. It's just something to get your wheels turning in case you need to have a discussion at your building. And we wanted you to know that it is an option. It is not required this year.
And the district, we will not be pulling district-wide data. So you won't see that posted in someplace that says, oh, and look, XYZ school did not test. It's like, no, that's not even being pulled. We're pulling data in the fall and pulling data in the spring from those screener assessments. All right, what other questions do you have? And I will keep this recording for another minute or two. If there's any discussion, and then I'll turn it off and keep hanging on until all the questions are answered. So what questions do you have?
So when you say optional window for iReady and Achieve 3000, that means that that's an optional test. We're really just doing fall and spring. And if schools want to, they can do the middle test.
That is correct.
Okay. And one other question for the alternate access, just to clarify, make sure I understand correctly, they do the regular access and then there will also be an additional field testing access.
No. Students that do the alt access have IEPs already, and so they will do the regular alt access, which is the same window as the regular access, and then there's going to be the field test version. So yes, they will be unfortunately tested twice.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, just want to make sure it's clear. It's not my favorite thing to share with you, but just want to make sure it's clear. All right, let's check the chat to see. Yes, so Kenneth, if you've got, I hope I answered that question as well that Jody had, because great minds think alike.
Indeed, yes, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, with that, I'm going to stop the recording and open it up for any other questions, and hopefully